Yo, what is happening? Welcome back to the 182 News Podcast. This is your host, Poppin' Curbs, and I really appreciate you making me a part of your day. Today's episode is terminally rad, pun intended. So I have a pretty cool, lengthy conversation with Nick Guenzler, aka Terminal Radness. He's an artist. He's collabed with Blink in the past. He's done shirts, posters. Most recently, he did a bass guitar for Mark Hoppus. No big deal. And that guitar was actually turned into a bass pin for Hi, My Name is Mark. So it's really cool to hear his story. I just love hearing these artists, their journey, their story. You know, where did they get started? So I really hope you enjoy this. Nick was actually a huge Blink fan. He tells a great story about meeting Mark Hoppus as a kid. He actually handed him his demo tape for his band. And so to think that 20 years later, he's making a bass guitar with his art for Mark, and then seeing Mark play that on stage in front of 20,000 people, it's just so fucking cool. So I really hope you enjoy that. It'll be coming up shortly. I got to start by saying I'm blown away by the support on the podcast. I actually just got a notification the other day that 182 News is in the top 100 podcast on Apple Podcast in the music category, which is just fucking crazy. I read all your messages. I've been blown away by the support, to be honest. Last week at one point I was having a shitty day, and I'd been up since 3 a.m. with a sick kid, and I was home on my lunch break reading through some of the feedback you all have sent me, whether it was on Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, and I was moved to tears, to be honest. It was actually kind of a funny scene. I'm in the kitchen eating a sandwich, and my wife was in the living room, and I was trying to read her some of these comments that you all had sent me, and I couldn't even get through it because I was so moved. I mean, there was a mom who said, you know, she's been so busy the past 2 years being a mom that she kind of thought she lost these memories, and, you know, I'm bringing those back to her. There was a guy who's said he's 39 now, and these stories and just all this Blink talk is bringing back just so many great memories over the last 20 years. And I just love that. I mean, that is just so fucking cool. I mean, when I started this, I didn't know if anybody would listen, much less be moved or be able to reminisce and reflect on the past. So I really appreciate it. It's just so cool to me. It means the world to me. I'm just a big Blink fan, random dude in Indiana who's trying to do whatever I can for Blink fans, just doing cool shit, basically, once I get my kid to sleep and I have time. So I really appreciate it. I'd love to hear from you if you want to reach out. I'm at Poppin' Curbs on Twitter and Instagram. So feel free to give me a holler. I'd love to chat, love to say what up. I really appreciate that. The last episode was my conversation with Dylan Anderson, who childhood friend of Tom and Mark. He runs Hi, My Name is Mark. He helped launch Atticus. So that was super cool. For the new listeners, by the way, if you enjoyed that conversation, definitely go back and listen to some of the previous episodes with the Mr. T-shirt interview was great. Christopher Holmes shared some incredible insight. I had the photographer who shot the Enema of the State album cover. So even if you got to skip past me at the beginning to get to the interview, go back and check those out because they're pretty cool. And I just love sharing this history and the stories of those who were around the band, worked with the band, all that good stuff. So I really hope you enjoyed the last episode with Dylan. It was so fucking cool of him to send some of those never before seen photos. So I was sharing those on the Blink-182 Online social media accounts. We had some trivia on there. So I want to give a shout out to the trivia winners. Toothrag, Famous Burrow, and Mike DeMonte were the three winners for the three questions we posed. The questions that we had, we did some trivia based on the episode to kind of make sure people were listening and kind of test them on it. So one of the questions was, where did Atticus come from and who designed the logo? And so Atticus comes from the character Atticus Finch in To Kill a Mockingbird. And Dylan created the logo, of course. So that was one of the questions. Another one was, where did Tom and Dylan work when they took advantage of the meals they were supposed to be delivering? That was the Remington Club retirement home. So Tom and Dylan, I guess they used to deliver food to the elderly at this retirement home. And what they said they did, which is actually kind of smart, is if they were hungry and they wanted, a steak dinner or something, they would order the best thing. and they'd pick it up to go deliver it, and instead of delivering it, it wasn't even meant for anybody, they'd just go sneak off to a room and just smash it and eat it. So that cracked me up. And then the third trivia question was, Tom wanted to create nail polish for men. So this was back when he was kind of painting his nails black. And it was, what was the name of the brand and what did the logo look like? And the picture that I posted that with, the name of the brand was in it. I was really testing you guys. It was Orbit. That was his nail polish for men brand that they kind of came up with before they ran into trouble, shipping chemicals and such. It just became a big pain in the ass. And Dylan said the logo actually ended up looking like what is currently the To the Stars logo. So perhaps a little rocket ship or moon or something in the background, which is cool. So I thought that was super cool. It's crazy for me to see, 182 News on the Hi, My Name is Mark Instagram. Just so cool of them to post that. And obviously, I think a lot of people found the podcast through that. So just a huge shout out to Dylan and the folks at Hi, My Name is Mark. That was just so fucking rad. And I really hope you guys enjoy that. It's just mind blowing to me to kind of see my logo and podcast up on my favorite brand and on their Instagram page and get some new listeners, and feedback from that is just so fucking cool. As far as the news goes, there's not really a ton to go over. Mark did finally come back and do another Twitch stream recently. He said that he was working on a new song that was Blink. So that's cool. He's working on some new music. And when asked to describe the new song, he described it as punk. So obviously anxious to hear that. It'll be cool whenever that ends up seeing the light of day. He did say the collab album is potentially still in the works. So they had some stuff with Pharrell, several others that ideally they were thinking about releasing an EP with these collabs, and it's still not out, but apparently they're still working on it, which is cool. I'm still looking forward to 9 Deluxe. I think 9 Deluxe just has to happen. He's hinted that, there's definitely material for it. So super anxious for that. The last episode, we had touched base on, the tour situation. So at that point, 2 weeks ago, there were only 2 shows still on the books. I had mentioned there was no fucking way I thought those were going to happen. And lo and behold, they are now canceled, postponed, rescheduled. And so, unfortunately, there are no Blink-182 shows happening this year, which fucking sucks. I mean, it sucks. I mean, it's the right thing to do, definitely, but it's just such a bummer. Like, I was so looking forward to hearing, like I said, some of those 9 songs live. Blink was actually supposed to be playing their first shows this weekend. They were going to be kicking off a tour with The Used. By the way, if you haven't listened to The Used new album, I really enjoyed it. I kind of fell off with The Used for a bit. I was into their first couple albums, but this album kicks ass, and Mark's on a song, Travis is on a song. They're both really dope. But yeah, Blink was supposed to be playing right now. I was going to go see Angels. I was hoping to catch Alkaline Trio right now with Bad Religion. So it's such a fucking bummer, even though it's the right thing to do. But no concerts from Blink or Angels this year. So unfortunately, that is now confirmed. I had mentioned I had spoken with a concert promoter who was really worried about any shows this year, especially, big crowds. There's just too much risk. I just don't see it happening. And Rick DeVoe, former Blink manager, was doing an Instagram live thing. And I asked him, I said, as far as the bands you're managing, what are you hearing about any shows happening this year? And he said he doesn't think any shows are going to happen until fall 2021, which fucking sucks. So hopefully we get a vaccine or something before then. But nothing's going to be happening this summer. That's for damn sure. A couple things with Travis. So Travis has been working really hard with Machine Gun Kelly on their new album. It's called Tickets to My Downfall. And Travis is really, he's doing a lot of producing on this, really collaborating with him. He's poured a ton of his heart and work into it. So it's really cool to hear the first song that came out from that, which is called Bloody Valentine. So Machine Gun Kelly is kind of trying to, I guess, kind of cross over into this pop punk kind of scene, which is cool to see him. He's a very talented artist. So that song got released. It's dope. They also released a kind of behind the scenes YouTube video of the creation of that. And it was really cool to see Travis in that producer role. So, I mean, I'm telling you, Travis can work with anybody. That dude's got mad cred from all different genres. Everybody, he's cool with everybody from Eminem to Drake. I mean, it will not surprise me. I called this a long time ago. Travis is going to go down as a legendary producer. He works nonstop. I mean, I just definitely think big things are going to happen with DTA Records, and I wish him nothing but the best. It's really dope to see. Another thing Travis did with Post Malone, I didn't get a chance to mention it, but they did almost like a tribute / benefit show live on YouTube that was a Nirvana tribute. They covered a bunch of Nirvana songs. So Post Malone was playing guitar and singing, and Travis was on the drums, of course. It was incredible. I mean, I'm such a huge Nirvana fan. That was kind of the reason I picked up a guitar in the first place was, Nirvana and then, Tom and Blink. And, I hadn't heard some of these songs in a long time. They played some deep cuts, man. They played Very Ape, Francis Farmer, School. So to hear Travis playing drums on Nirvana songs, one of my favorite bands, and some of these deep cuts was just incredible. And honestly, Post Malone fucking killed it. So that was really cool. It's still up on YouTube. And the best part about it, it was a benefit thing. They've raised over $5 million it's for the World Health Organization to kind of battle the virus that's happening right now. So check that out if you enjoy Nirvana. It's really fucking cool. I meant to mention last time, if you follow the Blink-182 online social media accounts, I love stickers. I love slaps. And so I've wanted to do this the past couple years on the forums. I wanted to have a sticker contest, and I wanted to get the stickers made. And then when this whole thing kind of kicked off with, everybody's stuck at home and dealing with the virus and all this stuff, I wanted to make a difference somehow and, raise money for a good cause of sorts. And so we held the sticker contest, and, we put it up for vote. And the winning sticker ended up being, it was from a dude named Upsmuck. So I appreciate him sending that in, letting us use that design. But it's Mark Hoppus as a banana cartoon, essentially. So I got the stickers made, and basically we sold them for $5 each. All proceeds I donated to Children's Hospital of LA and through Mark's little Twitch stream thing. So I just wanted to mention that. That was dope. Appreciate everybody who hit me up to buy one of those, and that donation has been made. And I really appreciate it. I thought that was dope. We'll have to do that again next year. So, okay, as far as the news goes, that's really all I have. This is another lengthy conversation. I'm not going to split this up. So it's a pretty big interview. Like I said before, I'm trying to release these every 2 weeks, essentially. So if you got to pause it and come back to it, it's all good. You got some time to get caught up. So without further ado, I want to jump into my conversation with Nick Guenzler, a.k.a. Terminal Radness. Really hope you enjoy this. We get his whole story. We get, what was it like when you're handing off your bass to Mark Hoppus that you made for him? There's actually something he fucked up on it that he didn't realize until he handed it over, which Mark picked up on right away, which is kind of funny. So I really hope you enjoy this. Just fascinating stuff here. And again, I'd love to hear from you. If you want to follow me, I'm at Poppin' Curbs on Twitter and Instagram. Would love to hear your feedback, what you enjoyed, what you learned. So hit me up, and here we go. All right, ladies and gentlemen, now joining us on the 182 News Podcast, one of my favorite artists, Nick Guenzler, a.k.a. Terminal Radness. Nick, what's up, dude?
What's going on? You got my last name right. That's amazing.
I was worried about that for a second, but I thought I had it. So I want to start, I don't know too much about your background. I'd like to know kind of how you got into art, where you're from, where you grew up. Was this something you always knew you wanted to do, or how'd you end up as an artist?
Oh, it's a lot. I don't know. I think like growing up, I was really into cartoons, and from a really early age, I wanted to either be like an artist or cartoonist. And as I kind of got older, it's like you go through phases where it's like, oh, I'm going to be a pro wrestler. I'm going to be a pro skateboarder. I'm going to do I saw the movie Boiler Room and wanted to be a stockbroker at some point. which is weird. But like, so eventually I kind of like, I think once I came to more of a formative age and I got into like punk and stuff, there became like more of a need for flyers and like album art and that kind of thing. And so because I was like the artistic one usually in whatever band I was in, I ended up kind of doing it just by default, because it's like you don't, when you're doing those kind of things, it's like you don't have money or budgets or anything to pay somebody. So it's like,
Yeah.
okay, like I could draw this and then like scan it in and like get a bootleg copy of Photoshop from my friend's mom or something like that. Like, so I kind of just got into it because of that. Oddly enough, like I didn't know there was a name for like being a graphic designer. I didn't know what that was. So oddly enough, like when I was about like 15 or 16, I ended up working at a friend of mine. Her mom opened like it was kind of like a skate shop, sort of like local Hot Topic kind of thing. They had like band merch and like Dickies and kind of like skates adjacent stuff. It was mostly like t-shirts and like, but they ended up selling Famous Stars and Straps there. And I remember like really being captivated by the art because it looked different than everything else in the shop.
Yeah.
So I ended up reaching out to the sales rep. It was this guy, I think his name was Carlos, who did all the sales for Famous. And I was like, hey, who made that art? Like, who is that person? Like, I want to do that. He's like, oh, it's this guy, Max. You should talk to him. So he gave me Max's email address. And then I found Max on like AOL Instant Messenger and started messaging Max, who was the art director for Famous for a long time. I think he's still involved on and off with them. I haven't talked to Max in like a long time, but yeah, because of that dude, and oddly enough, like because of Blink 182, that's kind of like what led me down a career in art.
That's dope. So that was probably like, was this when Famous was first kicking off, like 99, 2000-ish?
Yeah, so it was kind of like I knew about Famous really early on because I was lived in Orange County till like I started 6th grade, and we moved out to like the Riverside area. So I
Okay.
knew about Famous just because they're like the skate park I used to go to growing up was like plastered with Famous stickers.
Oh,
I mean,
nice.
there was always like dudes. I think Travis may have been there a time or two, but like dudes handing out stickers to like all the kids, like, hey, like put these on your board, put them
Yeah.
everywhere. So I knew about Famous, and I went to the shop when that was new. That was like
Yeah.
in Riverside off Magnolia, but yeah, it was kind of, I knew about that from its infancy, and it was kind of weird because when I was like 9, let me backtrack here. Also, the Aquabats were like a big influence in art for me,
Okay.
which is kind of strange. So Parker Jacobs, he worked at like Paul Franken stuff, but he did all the art for the Aquabats. He's
Hmm.
the singer, Christian Jacobs' brother. But I really was captivated by that too. So like, uh, we had all the Famous Stars and Straps stuff. I didn't know Travis was affiliated with that or anything, or it had to do with Blink 182 at the time.
Yeah.
Because this was like, I don't know, I want to say when I was in like 6th grade. So it was like 1990, maybe 7th grade or something like that. It was like 1999 or 2000 maybe.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was in a band when I was like, I don't know, 12 or whatever. And I was talking to this older kid, and he was like, oh, Famous Stars and Straps, that's Travis's company. I was like, oh, who's Travis? He's like, oh, that's the drummer for Blink 182. And I was like, oh, cool. I think Dude Ranch at the time, so I didn't know who, like, I thought the drummer was still like Scott or whatever. You didn't really know what they looked like
Yeah.
back
Yeah.
then. It's
I
kind of,
know.
it's weird. It's so much different, you know? Like,
Totally.
it was just like, oh, I guess the drummer from Blink 182 got a bunch of tattoos or something like that. Like, you didn't really, with like low def TVs and everything, you
Yeah.
know, you didn't really know who was in what band, aside from like owning the album. So this dude Kevin was like, yeah, he's the drummer for the Aquabats too. You like the Aquabats, right? And I was like, yeah. And he's like, shit. So I went home and like looked at my Aquabats album, and it was sure enough, it was like Travis Barker's the Baron Von Tito, and I was like, oh
Yep.
shit, it's the same guy. That's crazy.
Yeah,
So
he's right there on the front cover. It's pretty wild. So were you the kid, like, I mean, were you drawing on your desk, like just drawing all the time growing up? Or, do you recall, like, was it an art set you got at Christmas, or how did you just kind of get started on your love for art?
so my love, I don't know, just I think mostly cartoons. Like I loved cartoons, and I was thinking about this recently, just because like I have a son who's 4 years old, and I would just always draw like Nintendo characters. So I was always drawing like Mario characters and like
Yeah.
Mickey Mouse and Donald Duck, Ren and Stimpy. Ren and
Oh yeah.
Stimpy was a huge influence. Um, so yeah, I don't know. I was just always drawing, and my grandma was always like, and parents too were like really supportive. So she would always like buy me art stuff. I got like an easel for Christmas and things like that.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It was just always like I wasn't interested in sports or anything. I just always wanted to like draw or be doing something, like making something, building something.
That's really dope that you mentioned Ren and Stimpy, because now that you say that, like I can kind of see that influence in aspects of your art. Like that's really cool.
Yeah, Ren and Stimpy, Simpsons. Like I don't know, for whatever reason, my parents never really like censored what I did. Like I don't know that I have kids now. That's a great thing, but it was just kind of like, oh, this is like The Simpsons is good, so you could watch it. Like it's fine.
Yeah. Yeah, I could watch The Simpsons. I was not allowed to watch Ren and Stimpy for a long time.
I
And
don't know
Beavis
if
and
like,
Butthead.
yeah, Beavis and Butthead too was a huge thing. I would watch that a lot too, but I was like too young to be watching that.
Yeah.
But just the characters and everything really always stood out to me.
Yeah.
Um,
So were you, it seems obviously even on your website it says stuff about, the skate and the surf culture. So were you very much kind of in the skateboarding scene growing up? Did you love to skate, love to surf?
yeah, we kind of like surf here and there. It was more like of like recreational thing than like lifestyle sort of, because we lived in the desert. So like when I became closer to like the age that I would want to surf, so like I started like kind of surfing here and there, just like messing around when we'd be out with my dad or whatever, because my dad surfed. So like after the waves and whatever would die down, we'd like go out and just kind of like
Yeah.
try and catch waves. But yeah, like I don't know, I never thought of it as like a serious thing. It was just, I don't know, surfing to me was more like water skiing or something like that. Just
Yeah.
like, oh, I'm in this body of water, or like I'm near a body of water, so I can do it. When you weren't doing that though, like yeah, like all I did was skate for like 5 or 6 years, like every single day for like hours, and
Yeah.
I was bad at it.
Yeah, I was terrible at skateboarding, and I used to skate all the time. Now I'm in Indiana, so I wasn't surfing, and I wouldn't even want to try it. I don't really fuck with the ocean. So
Yeah.
that just sounds terrifying to me. So you're kind of making these band flyers, you're kind of, working on your craft that way. So what happens, I guess, after high school or whatever, when do you start kind of thinking, okay, I need to make a career out of this or a job out of this, or how does that start working?
Well, I kind of like hated high school, so I was just it's so back to the band thing. I ended up like, I don't know, like I just kind of when I was like 16 or so, I just stopped going to school because like I just didn't feel like it.
Yeah.
And my parents were just like, I don't know, I felt like they couldn't really make me at the time because I was kind of an asshole. So I ended up like, I was in bands and stuff. I just like to be clear, I finished high school and like have a diploma and everything, but I don't know, I was just like, felt like this isn't catered to me. Like I don't understand, like if I'm not going to go to a 4-year university, why I need to be doing like more, and like why I need to take calculus or anything like that. Like I don't, this is not going to apply to me. Like I'd have no
Yeah.
interest in this. Like
Dude,
I
I've
always
taken
just,
so much calculus. Sorry, I went off to college for 4 years, and I took calculus, algebra, geometry. I've taken 8 years of French. I have never used that shit one time in my life since then. So I totally feel you on that. It's like you don't need all that stuff.
yeah, it's just like I don't know, I just felt like a waste of my time. And so I would just wake up, like I had a job, so I would like that I like was telling you about earlier at my friend's mom's shop. So I had that job. I would like wake up, like I would design on my computer for hours. So what ended up happening sort of was I yeah, I don't know. I was like I would just so back to like my friend's mom's shop real quick. Like I ended up sort of they needed designs like shop tees basically. So I
Mm-hmm.
was like, "Oh, I could do that." So they paid me to do that also on top of like whatever $5 an hour or whatever I was making there.
Yeah.
So I was like, "Oh, dude, this rules." So I started doing that for bands, and then yeah, I did that for bands. Then I ended up getting into screen printing
Okay.
because there was just like it was expensive. Like if you were in a band and you wanted something screen printed, like bands like when you're like 16 years old, you don't have like $500 to throw at merch.
Yeah.
So what I would do is like I could do small runs of merch for people in local bands. So I would just go to like a swap meet and get like 4 t-shirts for $10. And like, it would be like $150 to print like 20 t-shirts instead of like $400 or
Yeah.
whatever like the minimum was at the time. So I screen printed for like a bunch of local bands and stuff and like brands and things. I started kind of making my own. Well, before that, so like I ended up long. This is a long story, but I ended up crashing my friend's car.
Oh.
Like I drove my friend's car around the block and ended up like taking a turn too fast, and we like crashed in front of our high school.
Oh.
And we were all good and everything, but like I got in trouble and had to go to like I didn't have a license or anything. So I had to go to court and like the judge was just kind of asking like what are you going to like do with your life, and I was just like it was after I had talked to like that dude Max and everything, and it was like, "Oh wait, I'm going to be a graphic designer."
Yeah.
So the judge was like, "Okay." So like I had to write a paper and they like forgive whatever the tickets were going to cost that I owed, telling like what I was going to do with my life and why I wouldn't drive cars without licenses anymore.
Yeah.
Uh, but yeah, so my dad ended up like telling me, "Hey, like you fucked up, but like here, I'm gonna put this towards your future." So he bought me like a brand new computer, and it's just like I don't want you to like be fucking around. Just like stay home if you're gonna stay home, and then like work on design and like screen print stuff, and like we'll encourage you that way, and like play music, but just like don't like get in trouble anymore,
Yeah.
basically.
That's
So
dope.
that's what I did, yeah. And I ended up kind of I was in a band and we had kind of gotten pretty popular at the time. It was like a like hardcore band, and I don't know, it was kind of like there was like a religious component to it, and I didn't like basically like I can tell you the story, but like I was at a show, there were these two gay kids, uh, and there was this pastor yelling at them that they're going to go to hell.
Ugh.
And I was just like, dude, I don't want any part of this. Like, fuck this. Those kids are cool. Like, they just come to
Yeah.
shows. Like, this is their outlet. Like, it doesn't, like, none of that shit matters. Like, I don't want to have anything to do with this anymore.
Yeah, it's so fucked up. It just drives me nuts when I see. I mean, even I have family members who are crazy religious, and I'm just like, who fucking cares what other people are doing with their
Yeah.
lives and their bodies? It doesn't. I mean, who fucking cares? What's it doing to you? But
No, like, I've never been bothered by it. Like, it's just never made sense to me to, like, care about that kind of thing. So I
no.
was just, yeah, like, I was just like, this isn't what I want to be a part of. And like, I ended up sort of quitting that to focus on just like the little brand I had at the time and just printing and designing. So
Cool.
I ended up working with my dad for a little bit, and I hated it so much that like it was like an industrial job, and I hated it so much that it was like my senior year of high school, and I was just like, there's no fucking way I want to do this. Like, so I have to like go to school to like be a designer or something. So that's what I did. I went to school for design for a few years, and then just started working pretty much after that.
Cool. So where do you end up getting the name and or alias Terminal Radness?
It was kind of like, I've told this a couple ways, but like it was sort of like, I think the truth of it was uh, what I'm doing sort of started out as just a blog. So the name comes from this band. It's like a English band called Terminal Cheesecake. I just thought it was like a funny name.
Yeah.
And so I was with a friend. I picked a friend up for band practice. And I was like going through a hard time in life. Like, I don't know. I was going through like just being honest. I was going through like a breakup and sort of having a hard time with it. And like I was really depressed and sort of adjusting to adult life.
Yeah, man.
And my friend, I was listening to like Pedro the Lion or something like that. And my friend was just like, what the fuck, dude? Like, what are you going to stop being sad and start being rad again? Like,
Yeah.
let's go fucking eat a cheeseburger or something. And I don't know why, like, she's like, turn this shit off. And I don't know why, but it was just like the sadness to radness thing stuck with me. And then I was just like, oh, like Terminal Radness, that's kind of funny.
Yeah.
And yeah, so it started off as sort of like I just made like a Tumblr page where I'd post like a lot. There's this thing called Crazy Dave Tape, where it's like these like kind of, have you seen those like, what is it, everything sucks videos? I think that's what it is, or everything's terrible videos.
I don't know if I have or not. I don't think
So it's kind
so.
of like a mashup of like a bunch of like weird found sort of like old video footage. It's kind of like, but Crazy Dave Tape is more like extreme than that. There's like porn and stuff in it, but they're just like really like crazy and like trippy. But anyway, so I'd post stuff like that, and then like gifs of like old like not horror movies, but like funny, like there's I think it's from House 2. There's a scene where there's like a pizza comes to life and like tries to kill a family. Like,
I haven't seen that movie.
no, it's like, it's ridiculous, but like just stuff like that and from old action movies. And then I started slowly kind of incorporating my art. And so what ended up sort of happening is like I went to Comic-Con one year and met this dude who I kind of liked, and was sort of just like would talk with him through email because I'd buy some of his art and stuff.
So what year is this for reference?
This is like, I want to say like maybe 2009 or something like that.
Okay.
So I was working full time as an art director, and I'd keep a sketchbook, and just like whatever was going on, I would just do like doodles in, like in meetings and whatever. I don't know. I didn't take it too seriously.
Yeah.
But I would like doodle all day long, and because I was in meetings a lot. So I ended up showing him my sketchbook, and he was just like, dude, this is awesome. Like, you should really put this out there. And I was kind of like, nah, it's just like shitty doodles, like for fun. He's like, no, dude, like, I think this could be something. Like, just put it out there. Like, who cares? Like, something happens, it'll happen. So I was like, okay.
Yeah.
So I did that, and it kind of like took off from there, which is like always so strange to me. But I was like really like glad he told me to do that, because then like, yeah, I probably, it would just be like those sketchbooks would be on a shelf somewhere.
Yeah, totally. I mean, you got to put yourself out there. I mean, people have been telling me that, and I've been hearing success stories of people kind of doing that same thing. So your art is described as having elements of doom metal, flagrant apathy, public displays of sarcasm. That one's my favorite. I was looking through your Instagram page the other day, and there's that neon sign. It looks like a restaurant sign, but it's got the Grim Reaper, and it says, "Sorry, we're dead." That was just cracking me up. And then the piece of pizza with "I hate myself and want to diet." That one was cracking me up. So I mean, is that, I guess, an accurate description of your art in your words?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, it's kind of like very, I don't know. I think it's like Mike Judge is like, if you like all that shit, you'll, I think,
Yeah,
like what I do or vibe with it.
yeah,
I just kind of like, it happened sort of, I was doing this stuff prior to like when I started putting my stuff out there, but like a lot of it was like kids I would see, because I was in like after the hardcore band and everything, I started another band that was kind of like noise, like I don't know, it sounded like the Jesus Lizard or something like that, but like very kind of like noisy and like annoying for the sake of being annoying. And
yeah,
so when we'd go to these shows, it was all just like these kids who like really just didn't care about anything but like the scene they were a part of, which was like sort of, I mean, to me at the time it was like refreshing, but like I would sort of draw these kids I would see that just like didn't like, you could just tell, like it's kind of funny, but like there were people you would know like were like rich kids sort of, but like, playing it, like downplaying it, I
yeah,
guess.
yeah.
Shit like that. But like, I don't know, I just like imagine what those people were thinking and like kind of draw them and draw captions for them. So I mean, that's kind of what started what I was doing in my blog and everything, was just like I would see these kids at a show I was playing and like sketch them up when I got home or like the next day in a meeting or something like that, and caption like what I imagined they would be saying or like what was going through their mind. These
That's
sort of
funny.
like, just like, kind of like hipster kids with really shitty attitudes towards
Yeah,
everything. And like,
yeah.
yeah.
So that dude tells you to kind of start putting your stuff out there. So do you just start kind of building up, I guess, like a Tumblr following, or did you start a Facebook page at the time, or how do you grow, and then what do you kind of do with that?
So yeah, I kind of just, yeah, I was the Tumblr page for a long time. And then I added the .com to the Tumblr page. And it sort of almost like accidentally became a digital portfolio.
Yeah,
So people then would start like, stuff would be like reposted or shared or whatever. And eventually like people would start hitting me up. And then around like after a while, I started posting to Instagram, because like I didn't even like think to do that at first. And I was just like, who, people are just looking at pictures of people's sandwiches they ate for lunch. Like, who cares
yeah, yeah.
about that?
That
So
is how Instagram was when it first started. It's like your
yeah,
kid and your sandwiches. It's like, okay.
yeah. So yeah, or your dog or cat. But like, yeah, so I started then posting to Instagram also, and it was like then people, like more people started hitting me up and following me and asking me to do work for them, and it was kind of like just crazy. It started out with like small brands and bands and stuff, and then it like turned into like Adidas and things like,
Wow.
and Blink 182 and Pearl, like all that other stuff.
Yeah,
So it's kind of just, I don't know, it's crazy, but it's just like all I did was keep doing what I was doing, really, you know.
yeah,
So like that,
yeah.
it should be a lesson to anybody out there to, if you're doing something, don't stop.
Yeah, keep doing what you love. That's awesome. So I mean, we're gonna get deep into some Blink, but I do want to know, what was the first call or email you got from either a big client or company or something, and you were just like, holy fuck, I got this.
Uh, I don't know. Like I ended up, so when I had that art director job, I was like, I wasn't fulfilled in what I was doing. So I ended up I drew something on a piece of paper that said like, I want to be your dog. And I mailed it to the creative director for Volcom, because like Volcom was down the street from where I was working at the time. And he ended up like emailing me and was like, hey man, like I really love your art. Like, thanks for sending this. Like, this rules. Like, we want to put it on a shirt.
Wow.
And I was just like, oh shit, like this is awesome.
Yeah.
So that I think was like the first thing that sort of made me feel like, oh, okay, like maybe I could actually, like maybe this is like something I'm supposed to be doing.
Yeah. Man, that's so cool. It's like so many success stories. There's stuff you can just trace back. Like, it could have been your dad giving you the computer and giving you the green light, or it could have been this little thing sending that off. It's like you got to grind, grind, grind and love what you do. And it just somehow works out. I mean, if you just keep it up, that's awesome. So I wanted to ask you, I've seen your art is almost perfect for a tattoo. I've seen some of the tattoos posted on your page. When you see somebody get a tat of your design or your artwork, is that just like super rad? Is it weird? Are you thinking, what the fuck, is this person crazy, or how's that feel?
No, it's cool. Like it's rad. The only like downside is I wish I'd tattooed it,
Yeah.
which is just like because that would be cool. But like other than that, no, it's like it's awesome. I just like can't believe it still. I'm like, that's weird. Like I'm on hundreds of people's bodies, like
Yeah.
forever.
I feel like that would be really, really weird when you sit down and think about it. But I mean, in the coolest of ways, it's super
Yeah.
rad. Have you tried? I mean, have you given tattoos or do you do any tattoo work?
No, like I don't know. I go back and forth with whether or not I should, but like I like have tattooed on friends when I was like, 17 or something like that.
Yeah.
But not since then. Like I haven't touched a tattoo gun. I don't know. I always I have a lot of respect for tattoo artists and their craft, so I try not to like I don't want to be like
Like I could
stepping
do
on
that.
toes. Yeah.
Yeah. I feel like it has to be so much different than just drawing with a pen and paper, though. I mean, I would be so fucking nervous. So, I mean, I don't know. It's scary. I wouldn't want to try it, but there are people who do it.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, so I want to get into kind of some Blink stuff. So just to kind of start out, I mean, were you a fan of Blink being from SoCal in the area? Were you aware of them? How'd you first hear about them? All that kind of stuff.
Yeah, so it's kind of a long story, but what ended up happening was like a friend of mine, I think it was like fourth grade or something like that, came to school one Monday, who was this kid who was my best friend, came to school and was like, I saw this band called the Aquabats at Knott's Berry Farm, and he had like the mask on. I guess they like gave him a mask.
Oh
So
God.
he came to school and had a mask and everything. He's like, I saw this ska band. They're called the Aquabats. Like they're so cool. Like they're superheroes. Like it's like the coolest band of all time. And he was like singing their songs and stuff. And I was like, oh, dude, I need to see. I need to find out like what this is, or like hear this person, or like
Yeah.
figure this out. So it was like the following weekend. My parents, it was like, I don't know, someone's birthday party, and they had friends over. So I was talking to my dad's friend, and he was just like, oh yeah, like what are you into and whatever. Like I was telling him, oh, like there's this ska band I heard about that I really want to hear. And he was like, they're called the Aquabats. He's like, oh, the Aquabats. They play them on K Rock. You should listen to K Rock. I was like,
Okay.
okay, like what's that? So I figured that out. And then through K Rock, I heard Josie.
Nice.
So that was like, I don't know, I was probably like 9 years old or something. And then I saw a music video for Damn It a while later on MTV. And that sort of just clicked with me. And I was like, oh, cool. Like, I don't know what this is, but I like this a lot. Like, so I ended up, for my birthday that year, I went and got the Aquabats, Fury of the Aquabats for my birthday. My
Hmm.
parents took me to like a music store and I got that. And I wanted Blink 182, but I called them Blink 122 because I didn't know they were Blink. Like I couldn't remember or something. I was just like, oh, do you have Blink 122? They're like, no, I don't.
The
Not sure what
clueless
that is.
clerk. It's
Yeah,
like, no, we don't have Blink 122. Sorry.
yeah. So I think like the next year or a year later, maybe I had got Dude Range for like my birthday,
Yep.
and so that was kind of like the first Blink album I got into. I think it was like I got Dude Ranch maybe right before Enema. They got big through Enema.
Yeah.
So yeah, and then Enema. I followed Blink 182. Like I was hard. Like you couldn't find a bigger Blink 182 fan than me when I was 14. It was like full blown, like dressed like them. Like I think all of our friends, or like
Yep.
all my friends growing, we all loved Blink 182 and dressed exactly like Blink 182, and like played Blink-182 covers because they were like fairly easy when you're starting out playing music, you know what I mean? And that was like, I think of Blink-182 as like our generation's like cooler older brothers, you know?
Yeah, definitely.
But I feel like everything cool I kind of learned from Blink-182.
I feel the same way, dude. And actually, my first introduction to Blink was Damn It, and I was about the same age, fourth, fifth grade, and my buddy had the Damn It radio single, and that's so cool. I mean, it just takes me back to when you had to call, Disc Jockey was the name of the place around here, and you'd have to call and ask them if they had a CD in stock, so that your mom could drop you off at the mall the next day to go pick it up. It was just, gosh, it was so different. I remember songs coming on the radio and I'd be waiting with my little cassette player ready to hit record, and just that would be like my own little custom mixtape. But yeah, man, Dude Ranch was the shit. And then Enema comes out and it was just game over from there, with Take Off Your Pants and Jacket. That's actually my favorite Blink album of all time. But I saw on your Instagram page you shared, actually I can see the poster behind you, but I want to hear the story about the Enema of the State signed CD. So one of the things that I kind of do in my spare time is I'm a huge Blink autograph collector, and I've documented their autographs throughout the years. I try to help people with their collections and make sure they get real autographs. There's so much fake crap out there. But anyways, one of the rarest items out there, and this will blow your mind, is a signed Enema of the State CD. And you would think there would be thousands of these. I mean, so many. And I can count the number I've seen on one hand. And that's with, I'm going on almost 10 years of documenting this shit. So they do not pop up very often. So I got to hear your story on this Enema of the State signed CD.
So yeah, I think that's actually okay. So I can tell you about the first autograph I got by Blink-182 if you're interested in that. Before we
Hell
get
yes, absolutely.
So I think I was like 15 or 16. So when I started working for my friend's mom's shop, she was like, "Hey, you're like young and cool. Like, you pick what clothes we sell here." So that's when like Atticus kind of first came out. And so I was like, "Oh yeah, we need like Famous Stars and Straps. You need to get Atticus. Like, we need to get." And I think it was like right when Macbeth sort of first started too. So I went to this thing called ASR, which is like it was like Action Sports Retail. So she let me be the men's buyer for the store because she was just like, "You're like a young cool kid. Like, you pick what's in the shop. Like,
yeah,
so you're the buyer now." So
it's very wise of her.
Yeah, so we like, me and my buddies went, and it just so happened like Blink was playing a show that night. So Mark, Tom, and Travis were all there. So we went to the Famous Stars and Straps booth, which was like, I think not far from the Atticus booth. And I ended up meeting Travis and had him sign my badge. I was looking all over for it. It's somewhere around, but I couldn't find it.
Yeah.
But so Travis signed my badge, and then we ran into Mark, and we ended up talking with Mark for like a long time.
Wow.
He couldn't be nicer. Like, so nice, so like caring. He seemed genuinely interested in what we were doing and everything. And so we're like, "Hey, could we give you our band's demo?" Like, and he was just like, "Yeah, like I have to go though, like, but I'll wait for you guys." So we ran it took us like, it probably had to take a half hour, but like we ran all the way out of the San Diego Convention Center, all the way to like the parking garage to get our demo tape, like, run all the way back in, go through security and all that shit. And like, he waited for us. He's like, "Oh, awesome. Like, thanks so much, guys." So yeah, then he signed my badge also.
Wow.
Stickers. So, which I still have those stickers and stuff to this day. Like, one's on one of my guitars that's in a case that's buried. But like, yeah, so that was the first time. So the second
cool.
time, yeah, he's like the nicest dude ever. And I just like think about that now, like, and like, that was so cool of him to do. Like, he really could have been like, "Yeah,
fuck these kids." Like,
"Bye, kids, I gotta go."
Excuse me. Like, and you know how many people have probably asked, like, "Well, was this Dude Ranch or was this like an Enema show?" If it was Dude Ranch, maybe not too many people had given him their demo tape, but if it was Enema, he had a lot.
Yeah, this is like Take Off Your Pants and Jacket.
Oh shit! So they're famous as fuck.
Yeah, they're famous as fuck. Yeah. So, yeah, that was like really I'm sure he had like hundreds of things to do. So it was really cool of him to stick around and like
Wow.
wait for a couple 15-year-olds to like give him
Yeah,
a
man.
CD.
That's so rad. So
I
what ends? Go ahead.
was just gonna say I really hope he didn't listen to it because it was awful.
He probably just, toss it straight into the trash afterwards
Yeah.
as soon as you walked off. Okay. So what was the word on the Enema CD? I know you said you had to wait like 2 hours to get it signed. So what's the story on this one?
So the Enema thing was like it was what? It was like, okay, so Travis co-owned a Wahoo's Fish Tacos, which is like a chain out here.
Mm-hmm.
He co-owned one in, what was it, like, not Menifee, Corona, I think it was. So he co-owned Wahoo's Fish Tacos, which opened in like Corona. So they were doing a signing. So we went to there. I went with my girlfriend, who's actually my wife now, coincidentally.
Wow.
But we went and we met like a friend there, and we were gonna have to wait in line for like 4 hours. And what ended up happening was, the Macbeth guys were there, and so because I knew I had met them because we were gonna do orders with them for that shop I was in, we ended up getting wristbands. So we got to go like. We got like VIP wristbands or something like that. So we actually had to wait in like a much shorter line, which was cool. But yeah, so it was still like a 2-hour line we had to wait in, but it was better than like 4 in like the Southern California sun.
Yeah. Oh, I bet. So is Mark, Travis, and Tom on that, or was it just Mark and Travis?
Mark and Travis. So Tom was supposed to show up and never showed up.
Okay.
So this was like, when was this? This was probably, I think, when did Travis have the plaid drum set?
Gosh, I don't know off the top of my head.
I think that was like after, or that was Take Off Your Pants and Jacket era, I think.
It would have had to have been, between 2002 and 2004, probably.
Yeah, so that drum set was hanging up in that Wahoo's Fish Taco.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so that's why it was like it had to be around that period, or like I don't think it was when it was before the Untitled album, I think.
Okay, so yeah, probably 2002-ish, because that dropped in 2003. Yeah, and that's the thing about, the rare signed Blink CDs and stuff. It's so hard to have all three on it because they really didn't hang out that much. They were kind of hard to run into all three. So, dude, it's fucking crazy how rare like full band signed Blink CDs are from back in the day. It's mind blowing.
Yeah.
So, all right, so you're doing your art stuff. How do you end up getting approached by Blink to work on something, or the first time you get asked to do something for Blink?
So yeah, the first time, I think it was like Chris Siglin reached out to me. I'm trying to remember who the first band was that he asked me to do work for. It may have been Bad Religion.
Yep, he does.
So
them.
yeah, so it was Bad Religion, I think, and then Pearl Jam, and then Blink 182.
Nice.
Which I think by then I kind of knew he did Blink stuff, and I was like, oh, that might be cool. And trying to think what the first T-shirt was I designed for them, though. I did some that were approved, and I don't think they ever got printed. But like,
I know I have the Bored to Death one with like the
yeah.
Grim Reaper. And by the way, Chris Siglin, for those listening, that's Mr. T-shirt. We had him on. He was actually my very first guest on the podcast. So fucking rad. Such a great conversation with him. Just the coolest. So did he just find you on like Instagram or something and reach out, or
I'm terrible about asking people where they found me. Like I just
Yeah.
don't do it ever for whatever reason. But I would think it was like Instagram or Tumblr.
Gosh, yeah, that's really cool. So I remember I have the Bored to Death shirt, the black one with the Grim Reaper with the smiley face, and I think there was a pin of that. Was that the first one you designed for them, or no?
No, I did some previously. I just don't think it was like in my style that is recognizable. I think it's a little more like graphic. So like I did one that was kind of like an Andy Warhol treatment.
Okay.
That's like 4 boxes. It's kind of like pop art looking. There's another one that's like a smile with like a sort of like skeleton teeth beneath it.
I don't know if I've seen that one. So did you start working with them like in this new California era, kicking off in like 2016, or was
No,
it
prior
earlier?
to that, I think when
Oh,
Tom was still playing with them. So actually there was a like a crew neck sweatshirt I did with them that is like a rabbit skull sort of. It's kind
okay.
of like Bones Brigade looking, but that I think was the first thing I did for them.
Cool. So you got the two posters and you've got them behind you. I can see them. So
Yeah.
how do you get approached? How does that even work? Does Mr. T-shirt hit you up and say, "Yo, we need a poster," and just give you free reign, or do you shoot him a bunch of examples and he says, "Oh, this would be perfect for this particular date on this tour"? Or how does that even happen?
Yeah, Chris is really rad. He just kind of like, hey, like, I like what you do. That's why I'm asking you to do this. So kind of just like do your thing or give me some concepts and like we'll approve whatever. Or like
Nice.
get something approved, and if it's not approved, we can fix it or change something.
Yeah.
So yeah, I kind of just had like I think the first one I did was the New Jersey one, Homedale, New Jersey,
Yeah.
and that one was like I don't know. I think at the time it was like I was kind of doing a lot of these like vanitas drawings where it's like something living, something dead. It was a whole like old art movement, but I was kind of like it's still lives, and I kind of was inspired by that, and like almost like a little. To me, it was like a shrine to like youth and like basically like my youth. I feel like so that's sort of what that one was. And then the second one with the was the which was the Kansas one.
Yeah.
That one's like I don't know if you could tell, but I tried to arrange it so there was arrows. So it's like
Oh, okay.
yeah, so it's kind of like subtle arrows in the background.
And
But
those
like
those have what I think you refer to as some of your stoner faces. What's the inspiration behind those, or how'd you come up with those guys?
yeah, it's like all the little like I mean that was kind of like what I was saying is inspired just by like kids I would see around or whatever at shows and things like that.
Yeah.
So it's just kind of like the like burnout sort of like
Yeah.
stony like stoner kids, and I used to call them like grunge kids sort of like in some ways it's like how I imagined teenagers were when I was like a child almost.
Yeah.
Where it's
Yeah.
like, oh, like kids skateboarding and like smoking weed, like
Yeah.
not caring about any, just being apathetic.
Yeah. I went to
90s
shows.
kids.
Yeah, totally. I went to shows. One of those for the listeners, one of the posters is with a day to remember. So that would have been the first California stretch. And then the other one is Naked and Famous, which they kick ass, by the way. And that was more along the California Deluxe stretch, if I recall correctly. So how did you end up getting those signed, by the way? Did you bring those to a show or get hooked up at a
No,
show? Or,
Chris ended up. So yeah, what ended up happening was like Chris sent them to me. He had some signed to either like give away or do whatever, but I ended up just keeping them for like my kids,
oh, yeah.
so like they can have them when they're older or put them on eBay if they need money or something.
Yeah, no, that's cool as hell. Okay, so I want to ask about the bass guitar pin. No, not the bass guitar pin. First, we need to talk about the bass. So, not only are you named Terminal Radness, but you have one of Mark's bass guitars named after you, which is pretty badass. No big deal. So, how do you get asked to make a bass guitar for Mark Hoppus?
I don't know. I mean, like I think Mark just asked me,
I mean,
which
does he
is
just
like
hit you up on Instagram or Twitter one day, email you? How's that even happen?
yeah, I think he just hit me up on Instagram because I think he'd been following me for a while. So it was like I don't know if I should get too much into details, but like I ended up doing that like animation stuff for them for the
Okay.
California tour for I think it played during Dysentery Gary.
Oh,
So
sweet.
Chris hooked me up with that, and then I don't. I'm trying to think. Like there was an issue with like the between the company and me in terms of like compensation or whatever.
Mm,
So then I ended up dealing with Mark and his manager, which like made everything right, which was like really cool of them. And So from there, that kind of like, I guess, started my relationship with Mark a little bit. But
Yeah.
prior to that, I'm going off here. What ended up, so I think Dylan from Hi, My Name is Mark reached out to me, but at the time, Chris had just put me in touch with Travis to do stuff for Famous.
Oh, sick.
So I did stuff for Famous, and then I think around the same time, Dylan hit me up, and we didn't end up like collaborating because it was just kind of like, oh, we didn't want Travis to think we're like taking his artists or whatever.
Yeah.
So we waited a while, and then Dylan kind of reached back out to maybe do something. So we did a little like coloring contest thing.
Oh yeah, I
And
have
then,
that.
yeah. And then Mark kind of eventually reached out to me and was like, hey, you want to do a bass for me for this upcoming tour? So that's, yeah, it's funny, but it's such a funny, surreal thing when someone goes, hey, how'd you do that? And I'd be like, Mark asked me, like, or Travis asked me. Like,
Yeah.
not many people get to say that. It's such a weird thing to like, just, that's like the truth of it, but like, it's just so weird to be like, yeah, just Mark Hoppus just asked me if I wanted to do this bass room. So I said, yeah.
Yeah, I know. It's like, and you get that message, and you're like, oh, fuck, hell yeah. I mean, that's got to be so rad. But then,
Yeah.
what would be going through my mind is like, okay, I can't fuck this up. Like, this has to be awesome.
Yeah. Speaking of fucking things up, I did fuck it up.
Oh, you did? Okay, so before we get there, so to start, do you get sent kind of like a blank Jaguar bass? Does he say, do your thing? Was there any guidance on it, or how did that work?
No, he was just kind of like, do your thing. And so I just kind of told him what I had in mind. And he was like, yeah, that sounds cool. So I ended up, yeah, I met his bass tech for coffee, and he handed off the bass to me, and I kind of just talked things over with him. And then, yeah, I took it from there, and was just like, shit, like, I have to do this now. Like,
Yeah.
I better not fuck this up.
So how do you end up fucking this up? Because it
So
sounds like
yeah,
you did at one point.
yes, I did. So I ended up like, I have a full-time job, so I'm a creative director for like a brand. So I ended up sort of like, it was sort of what I was doing at night every night for like a month or so. So I ended up like towards the last stretch of when I was working on it. It's kind of crazy, but it's like, it's a long process, like, because it's not the same as like fine art, sort of, where it's just going to be thrown on a shelf. It's like a item you're going to be using and sort of like thrashing around a little bit.
Yeah.
So I was really like, me like being somewhat of a musician, I was really mindful that like this has to be functional. Like, it's not just going on somebody's wall for like
Yeah.
the next 20 years. Like, this is going to be used every day. So keeping that in mind, it was like I did way more coats of everything than I would have if I were doing like a canvas or something like that.
Yeah.
So it was like a long process. There's like, I don't know, 5 coats of the pink alone on
Wow.
there. And then there's like 10 coats of finish. It's pretty crazy, but like, yeah, everything I did, I basically did like 2 or 3 times just to build up the layers. So if like something got scratched or whatever, it would still look somewhat similar or the same.
Yeah.
But towards the last, like, it was kind of rushed a little bit. Like, I think I only had like 3 weeks to do it. And like the last 7 days, I ended up getting super sick.
Ugh.
So like, I hadn't been that sick since I was like a child or whatever. I had like a fever and like, but I was like, I need to fucking get this thing done because they're going on tour soon. So I would stay up till like 3 a.m. working on this thing when I could. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's funny, but like the last just from like staying up and not sleeping to do this and whatever, like I was just like loopy. So I think the last thing I did was like it says what's my age again along the
Ah.
bottom side of the bass. So like a lot of fans haven't, let me know that. But what ends up happening is like it was supposed to say Endless Summer, which was taken from like a lyric of one of their new songs.
Yeah.
But I didn't know what happened, but I was listening. I can kind of like explain to you how this happened. So I draw everything that's on Mark's bass is on a piece of paper somewhere in like my flat files. And if I fuck something up like lettering before, like I'll kind of draw it and then I'll draw it out the way it's supposed to look with like a brush pen or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'll replicate it on the bass. So like I know exactly how much space I have and what it's going to look like and whatever.
Yeah.
So what I do sort of to like save paper, because I don't use like a digitally, like I don't do anything digitally. Everything I do is like by hand, which is, I don't know why I do that. I've like lost too many files. I think when I was using a tablet all those years ago to like, I was just like, fuck this. I'm just going to use a pen and paper.
Yeah.
But what ended up happening was that, so when I fuck something up, I'll just draw it again right next to it. And so what ended up happening was like I fucked up the A to what's my age again. So like the first age, I fucked up the A, so I drew age next to it.
Mm-hmm.
So like what I'll do is I'll do that. So then when I scan something in, I could just remove the shitty age
Yeah.
and add in the new age.
Yeah.
But like I'm painting it, so it's different. So I put what's my age again. And like when I put it onto the base, it's so weird, but it like becomes clinical when you're looking at something like that, where it's not like words anymore, it's just lines.
Yeah.
So I put what's my age again on the bass because I was like 3 a.m. and I was loopy trying to get the bass finished.
Yeah. So is that still like that? Because I didn't notice that, and I looked at all of it.
Still like that, yeah.
Oh my gosh.
So it's like funny and heartbreaking, but I got invited to go to that secret show Blink had before they went on tour.
Oh yeah.
I had the bass off to Mark. That's like the first thing he noticed. Like,
oh my gosh.
Age again? And I was like, fuck.
Did you even notice it at that point, or did you not notice it until?
Oh, so I had just like, I don't know, the flu or whatever. So like, I didn't have a fever, which is why I ended up going to the show. So like, once you don't have a fever, you're not contagious anymore.
Yeah.
And yeah, so it was like, fuck, dude, this sucks so bad. Because Mark invited me, and I was kind of like, I'm sick. I don't want to go, or like I can't go. Like I'm not gonna go risk getting other people sick.
Yeah.
But because I didn't have a fever anymore, it was like okay. So I went, and yeah, it was just like, fuck, man, like that sucks so bad. But he was cool about it and everything, and he was just like, honestly, it's been funny because like it's a nice conversation piece when I do meet and greets.
Yeah, no, that's funny because I was going to ask you, how did you know that you were going to be personally handing it off, or how did that come about?
No, I didn't know at all. So yeah, and Mark ended up just like hitting me up and inviting me to the show, and I was just like, well, and then simultaneously his bass tech hit me up and was like, hey, like, do you think you'll be done with that by the show so I can get it all set up and ready for tour? So I was just like, yeah, I'll make it happen. So
that's cool. So you go backstage, you're handing this puppy off, and the first thing Mark notices is, what's my age again?
Yeah. Which is like it's like worst nightmare situation, but it's also just like
yeah, no, I mean, what can you do? The CD skipped. What's my age again? There. That's all it is. So some of the art, I wanted to kind of pick your brain on the thought process on some of that. So the front has your Grim Reaper. You seem to kind of have this famous Grim Reaper that follows you around. The Cure, Bored to Death is on there. Palm Tree, skateboards. Where'd you kind of pick that stuff from?
So Mark kind of just asked me to do like incorporate stuff he likes, like coffee and everything. So I did that.
Thing.
Yeah, the most important thing for sure. And then, yeah, I don't know. I kind of just like I had done the Reaper for the Bored to Death shirt, so I kind of wanted to incorporate that. I feel like everything's quietly sort of Blink 182 related or California related.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I saw there's a number 23 on the front. Nobody likes you when you're 23. Obviously, palm tree for Cali, skateboard, LA. The coffee cup has MH with his initials.
The
Hello
23,
there.
yeah, the 23 thing is actually just it's for Michael Jordan.
Oh, really?
No, I'm just
I was
fucking
gonna
around.
say, I was like, you a big MJ fan? That documentary is getting ready to drop. I'm actually looking forward to that.
I like Michael Jordan too, but yeah, no, yeah, yeah, that's my
The
age group.
back had the Descendants, down, down, down with the kind of tidal wave drawing. Of course, the octopus, which that would make a rad shirt. I wear "Hi, my name is Mark" basically like exclusively for the past, I don't know, 6, 7 years. So that would actually be a pretty rad shirt. Um, One thing I wanted to ask you about on that, the quote on the inside, it says, "You're living La Vida Loca all over me." Where did that come from?
So it's like you're living La Vida Loca, obviously the fantastic Ricky Martin song that everyone loves,
Oh yeah.
and then you're living all over me, which is a Dinosaur Jr. album.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, I combined the two, so it's you're living La Vida Loca all over me.
I didn't know if that was an inside joke of some sort, but it looked like you had signed that on the inside.
Yeah, so I think Mark's a Dinosaur Jr. That's my favorite band. Mark's a fan too. I think actually my first exposure to Dinosaur Jr. was on they cover Freak Scene and on the Fly Swatter demo.
Oh, cool.
So yeah,
Uh, so obviously it's got to be so fucking cool, handing over your bass to that you made for Mark Hoppus. How rad is it seeing him play that on stage? I mean, that has to be so fucking cool.
it's so cool, and like the music videos and everything. It's so like just mind blowing to
Yeah.
be like a kid giving him my demo tape to like handing him this bass that he asked me to do for him. It's like I can't even comprehend it. It's weird. I have to think of it in like a clinical way because it's so like
Yeah.
just like I don't know. It's so weird, dude. It's like it's such a weird thing to me because it's like I was sort of like raised by these people in a way
Yeah.
that like oh of course like you're gonna like what like your little brother's doing sort of, you know what I mean, like
Yeah.
it's so it's crazy like but it's like it's crazy but it makes sense also to me. I don't know.
Yeah, it's like, what would fourth grade you think if you were to go back and tell him, this band that you're listening to, Josie on K Rock, one day you're gonna make art for this dude, this band, and he's gonna be playing a Jaguar Fender bass that you fucking painted just for him on stage in front of 20,000 people. I mean, it's mind blowing, dude.
Yeah, I can't, it's so weird like I don't know, it's like it's hard to comprehend,
Yeah, I
but I'm
bet.
like so thrilled about it, you know, and like
Yeah,
grateful, and it's such a weird thing to happen because it's like that doesn't happen to many people. So like I
yeah,
feel very lucky and fortunate to have been able to like have the opportunity.
yeah. Where does that rank as far as like your career accolades go? It has to be somewhere near the top.
Probably, yeah, for sure in the top. It's just like I don't know. I mean, it's just one of the like I don't know. It's hard to comprehend still, but
Yeah.
yeah, it's definitely at the top for sure.
So, as if that's not badass enough, Mark's company, Hi, my name is Mark, clothing line, they do some really rad shit. They've been coming out with these bass pins, which everybody just loves. They're so cool. And so, not only does Harpus, I cannot say his fucking name right now, Mark Hoppus, play your bass on stage in front of thousands of people, but it's also rad enough to turn into a little collector's pin. So, how was that process? I just spoke with Dylan actually couple days ago, last week. He's on the podcast coming up. It's not out yet, but he was telling me the process, kind of getting these approved with the artists and stuff like that. So how does that process work out?
So yeah, I don't know, by chance, like they have like, I like what it's so I don't know. So the first one I saw was the Crayola one. I mean, like Crayola was a huge influence of mine because like I being into like hardcore and stuff, he worked with like a lot of bands and did graffiti and things like that. So like I was already a huge fan of it. He's one of my favorite artists for sure, and like one of the reasons I went to art school and everything. So like
Really?
when I saw his, I was like, oh shit, like that's so rad. I hadn't seen pins that have been like printed. So like they got their factory to do something really, they're like the vendor they work with to do something really cool and like actually have printed elements on their like enamel pins, which is
Yeah.
like insane. So yeah, I don't know. He approached me about doing that, and I was like, yeah, that'd be rad. But like the process they do the pins is like so awesome, and everything looks, it's crazy. I don't know. So I had to give him like high res photos, and then they were able to take that and sort of transition it into like a pin. So part of it's printed, like I think process, and then the other part is like sort of like enamel, which is rad.
Yeah, I had no idea that it was that complicated, but the first one, it was neat. He explains that the first one they ran into trouble with was the Crayola, and it's like, okay, this needs to be very accurate. It needs to look good, and the process that they were using originally, it just didn't look so good. So they came up with some way, like you were saying, of kind of, I don't know, capturing or layering it, the actual art underneath the enamel to where it just looks super realistic, which is
Yeah,
really fucking rad. So yours, I think, was the last one that came out. There's 8 of them. I have them all. I need to look, and I'm actually curious now because I want to see if "What's My Age Again" is on the pin. Have you looked?
it's
I'm
not
sure
actually.
it's not
Yeah,
because it's on the kind of
because it's on
side.
this like the underside of the base. Yeah.
Okay. So
So
you get
luckily, I'm very happy it didn't make it on there. But
that's
yeah,
funny. So you get sent. I think you had some of those available out of your store, right?
yeah. So I think Mark had some, I have some, and then I still have a few that I'm gonna do something I think cool with.
Yeah.
So
It's
I don't know.
crazy. Like, I mean, these sell out so quick. I mean, it's like 2 or 3 minutes and they're just gone, dude. It's wild.
Yeah, I can tell it. So yeah, I haven't told anybody except like my wife, but like, so my plan for these now with everything going on is what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna make little paintings that go along with them because so many people, like I had quite a few people ask me to do replicas of Mark's base for them,
Yeah.
which like I don't want to do just because it's like that base was made for Mark, not other people.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna kind of do like things in vein of that base. That's gonna go with the pin, and then I'm gonna take that money and donate it to like, I'll probably end up working with Chris Siglin or something, but like take that and get medical like PPE,
Hell yeah.
and then give that or like donate it to like local hospitals. So that's
Yeah.
the plan for that.
That's fucking awesome. I'm all about I work a lot with kind of athletes and local charities and stuff like that. And I was begging Blink and Angels, if I can help in any way, if Blink Online can help in any way, I'm all ears. I'll do whatever we can. I know Chris, he auctioned some stuff off and gave all the proceeds to hospitals needing protective equipment, which is awesome. Mark has been doing some Twitch streams, accepting donations towards the Children's Hospital of LA, which is rad. So whenever you get that stuff up, I'm totally gonna repost it. I'll keep an eye out for it. So that'll be awesome. That sounds dope.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, so I think there's like 5 left that I kept, so I'm gonna do those and uh either auction them off or sell them at like a higher price point or whatever to like give that money away or
Yeah,
like get equipment for medical people in need.
totally. Yeah, I'm looking forward to that. That sounds awesome. So do you have any kind of thoughts about, collectors collecting these? I mean, is it just cool that people have little pieces of your art? I guess in general, it's probably badass knowing that people have your art somewhere in their house.
Yeah, it's rad. Like I don't know. It's just so I don't know, weird to me still like with everything. It's like,
Yeah.
oh, you bought that? Like that's cool. Like
Yeah.
it's funny too, like I don't know what I do or whatever, it's resonated with a lot of people I've resonated with. So like or like sorry, not resonated, resonate with. So it's like I don't know, there's like people in bands and things like that I wouldn't have like thought would like my art or whatever have bought my art and like own it in their, it's like in their homes. It's such a strange thing.
Yeah.
So like be like, oh yeah, like I really like this person and what they're doing, and I guess they like what I'm doing too.
Yeah. Yeah, that's got to be super awesome, man. So, all right, just to kind of start wrapping this up, we've gone over, over an hour. I appreciate your time. This has been fucking awesome. So I wanted to see, do you have any advice for kind of upcoming artists or folks just grinding, doing what they love?
I don't know. I mean, just like be a little vulnerable, like put yourself out there, keep doing what you're doing, be persistent. Like all I've ever done is sort of be persistent, be reliable, and like be sort of willing to like try something new or learn something new. But that's really all I can give. Be yourself too. Like, I don't know, just, I feel like me personally, I mean, that's like the only perspective I have is like, I just made it a goal to like make my art a representation of myself and not like, I can get into it a little more, but like when I first started working professionally, like I was asked to do a lot of stuff for like death metal bands and things like that, which is like not really my vibe at all.
Yeah.
Like I'm like a lot goofier, and like what I like is like funny and has humor in it. And so to be doing like weird things that are all like bloody looking and whatever is not like not what I'm into. So like I think it's important, and it shows that like once I started being myself and like showing the things I was like doing for fun and having fun with, that's when people also started to like take hold of what I like, or like resonate and like be into like what I was doing. So
Yeah.
I think just if have a, who is it? It's like Jim Rome or whatever, that like sports guy is like, have a take and don't suck. I think that's what it is. It's just
Pretty
like
much.
have a perspective and just like put it out there.
Yeah, that's cool, man. I gotta ask, what is your favorite piece of kind of memorabilia or collectible? I don't know if you collect stuff. You got a decent Blink wall behind you at least, but as a big time collector, I'm always curious to hear what people's favorite little thing is.
That I own personally.
Yeah.
Uh, I'll show it to you. This is I think this Pop Disaster Tour
Nice.
shirt from like, what was it, 2002.
Wow.
I've had this since I was like, I don't know, 15 or whatever.
Yeah.
And then this Mark, Tom, and Travis show I skateboarded to every single day when I'd get home from school.
Wow.
I'd blast that and just skateboard for like a couple hours.
Is
In front of my parents' house.
is that your favorite album? It's a live album, but is that your favorite Blink album?
I think so, because I don't know, it sucks. It doesn't suck. It's tough, I meant to say. It, I really like that Untitled album.
Yeah.
That means a lot to me, and it's sort of like I feel like Blink transitioned at the same time I was transitioning, like sort of out of like pop punk and whatever.
Yeah.
But like I don't know, I really love all the, it's tough because like the Dude Ranch songs are probably my favorite Blink songs. But what I love about the Mark, Tom, and Travis show is Travis plays drums on them.
Yeah.
It's like my favorite song with like my favorite drummer.
Yeah, it's really cool to hear Travis kind of go off on some of those songs that you really hadn't heard him drum on before. It's badass.
Yeah.
Travis is the GOAT, in
Yeah.
my opinion. Huge Travis Barker fan. So, all right, last, I just want to give you a chance to tell folks where to reach you at, website, Instagram, all that good stuff.
TerminalRadness.com. I kind of like put stuff up for sale here and there when I want to. And then just follow me on Instagram if you like what I'm doing and the bass and stuff I did for Mark.
Yeah.
Or if you like the Dysentery Gary animation stuff you saw at on the California tour.
Yeah. I need to go and find that. I'm curious to see that now. I mean, I was at the shows, but I'm curious to see what was actually going on there. Do you have a clip of it or something?
It's on YouTube. So what ended up happening was like the animation wasn't ready till later in the tour. So I think it only made it on like this. It was like 2/3 of the tour. So like the first part of the tour, I don't think the animation was done. So it didn't
Okay.
get added till like later in the tour. But yeah.
Okay. What is your favorite Blink song, by the way? I'm curious.
Um,
It's tough. I know it's tough.
it's tough. I don't know. I think I have a probably like a favorite song on each album.
Yeah, I feel you.
Uh, I don't know. I think I always used to say my favorite Blink song was Pathetic because it was the first song I heard from Blink that wasn't on the radio.
Okay. Yeah, that song's fucking awesome. And that's one of the first songs that Mark has said Tom and him really embraced kind of going back and forth. And obviously that just became so rad with kind of their different voices going back and forth. So I love that fucking song. It's so good. Such a great opener.
Yeah, I
Cool.
really like what's the song? No, is it Obvious?
Obvious,
Yeah.
that's on Untitled. They actually played that live with Skiba a couple years ago in Las Vegas. I flew out to Las Vegas just to see Blink. I've mentioned this before on the podcast. I've been in California 2 days, and it was to fly out there and see. They did 10-year anniversary shows of Untitled. It was at Palladium, and so on back-to-back nights in 2013, I saw them play that album front to back, which was fucking amazing. And then I flew my ass right back to Indiana.
So yeah, I was supposed to go to like when they were doing that small club tour. I was supposed to go, and that's when I like crashed my friend's car and whatever, so I couldn't end up going.
Yeah,
But
bad
yeah,
news
so
there.
I was yeah, I should have gone to that Untitled tour, but I didn't for whatever reason.
It was amazing.
Kind of had to
Still,
work or something.
yeah, to this day, still the best shows I've seen. It was just fucking nuts. So, all right, man. Well, I really appreciate your time. So, I'll get you out of here. So, really appreciate it. That was Nick Guenzler, aka Terminal Radness. Appreciate you joining us. All right, there you have it. I hope you enjoyed that conversation with Nick Guenzler, aka Terminal Radness. Definitely check out his Instagram page. He has a unique style, one of my favorite artists, just really cool shit. And it was an honor on my part to have, that conversation with him. It was an absolute pleasure on my part. And I really appreciated him taking the time out of his day to come on here and shoot the shit with all of us and share some really cool stories, really cool insight. If you're enjoying the podcast, please take a moment to rate, review, subscribe. I know it's kind of a pain in the ass, but it does help, so I appreciate that. I also need to mention there is still a promo code going for Hi, My Name is Mark. Use the promo code 182news at Hi, My Name is Mark to get 15% off of your order. That code is valid through the month of May. I don't get anything out of that, just something cool I wanted to do for the listeners. So totally use that. If you need to hit me up, I am at Poppin' Curbs on Twitter or Instagram. In the meantime, stay safe out there, wash your hands, and I will catch you next time. Peace.